The destruction of eternal truth is hurting your kids. Am I the only one who sees the massive glaring contradiction right there in the very title of this video? If it's eternal truth, it can't be destroyed. And if it can be destroyed, it's not eternal truth. So many of these right-wing dudes over the years have gotten these custom-made, microphones or microphone covers. And I have to say, Glenn Beck's is by far and easily the lamest one I've ever seen. I don't even believe in the whole alpha beta thing. I think that that's like a lot of hooey and shit. But like, if there is such a thing, like in the field of right-wing hate-mongering radio douchebags, tell me that this is not the alpha and this is not the fucking beta, right? He looks scared is what I'm saying. And his mic looks stupid and his hair looks stupid. Yeah, I just don't like him.
For you, and believe it or not, I have a very deep point on this. It's not.
You never had a point deeper than a goddamn puddle, dude. Your points are mirages that evaporate the moment you get too close to them, okay?
It's certainly not to make fun of Chelsea Handler. It is to remind people you should stop listening to people like this. This is my first point, but this is not the deep point. She's a moron.
Glenn, I don't know if you're aware of this, but you're a moron. You might think to yourself, hey, I'm not a moron, but let me assure you, as a qualified expert in moronology, you are indeed a f***ing moron. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Sorry if I ruined your day, but you're a moron.
She was on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and she told a story that...
I mentally prepared myself for frickin' Glenn Beck, but I didn't mentally prepare myself to see Glenn Beck and Jimmy Fallon in one video. Please do not play the clip.
She made an admission that she really didn't understand something. And if you don't understand this, what else don't you understand? This is a pretty basic thing. And
you wear magic underwear because you think it's what your weird Mormon God wants. So, I don't think you get to give any lectures on beliefs or like what a person should and shouldn't know. Here's something I expect a person to know for me to respect them. They'd have to be able to look at the Book of Mormon and read it and be like, this is nonsense and has no bearing on reality whatsoever. You apparently have read it and gone like, yep, that's the truth. Therefore, I don't take you remotely seriously as to the matter of who I should take remotely seriously. But I'm not some Chelsea Handler fan either, so maybe I will find her statement to be genuinely ignorant. We'll see.
And this is coming from a woman who has lectured us morally and intellectually, our superior, on, how to live our lives. Listen to this admission on Jimmy Fallon.
I didn't know, and this is true, I didn't know until I was 40 years old that the sun and the moon were not the same thing.
So yeah, it's pretty stupid. You ever been outside and you look at like, hey, it's the middle of the day, but the moon's out. That's cool. And you see the moon, you're like, oh, wow, the moon. Has that never happened to her in 40 years time? Or did she just think like, oh, they're flying the Death Star again? What? So to be fair to Glenn Beck, Glenn, I let you know earlier that you are a moron. But you know what? I have to give it to you. You have found the right person to pick on, because that is a statement so moronic that even you rise above it, I think. Don't prove me wrong, please.
Stop listening to these people. They're morons. They're morons.
I have to agree. I would still say don't listen to Glenn Beck either. He's also a moron. But, Glenn Beck is like the Frieza of morons. And Chelsea Handler just proved that she is like a Goku of morons. So there's just so many clues that let you know in the course of a 40-year lifespan that the moon and the sun are not the same. And if she didn't pick up on any of those for 40 years' time, either she has led one of the weirdest goddamn existences ever, which maybe is true, where she just never happened to come across any of this information that demonstrates that those two are not the same thing. Like, what is she, if when an eclipse happens, what does she think is eclipsing the sun? What does she think is going on there?
That's pretty darn basic. Pretty darn basic.
You know what, Glenn? Kudos to you, man. I am glad. I'm honestly glad that Glenn Beck finally found someone he can look down on. I don't know who Chelsea Handler gets to look down on. The great thing about being as dumb as Chelsea Handler is, at that level of dumb, you don't even know how dumb you are. Because if she'd realized how stupid it was, what she just said, she never would have just admitted that on national television. She never would have just been like, by the way, did you guys know the sun and moon are different things?
Wow. Okay. So she's what, 47 years old? She's almost 50 years old. The mentality of these elites that they are so morally and intellectually superior.
All right. So here's the problem I'm already sensing with this argument, Glenn. Just because she's really dumb and thought that the sun and the moon were the same thing, that doesn't necessarily mean her morality is bad. It's kind of a weird thing to say. Like, do you think that the smarter the person, the more moral the person? I certainly don't. I mean, there's certainly been people who are extraordinarily intelligent who were like cruel, sadistic, hate-filled, vile people. And there's certainly been people who are remarkably intellectually simple, who are like kind, decent, loving, charitable people. So equating a person's intellect and their moral goodness, whatever the that means to you, I don't really think it holds up. You should have just said, like, I don't agree with this values, plus she's a moron, you know? Because that's all you're really saying here. But her being a moron really doesn't have anything to do with you objecting to her moral values. You just disagree, you know?
And that, you know, everything is old-fashioned and, you know, you need to learn. It's more important than facts to learn the new facts that are cool.
Dude, a religious person has no business saying what you're saying right now. I think the Mormon church doesn't believe this anymore, at least not officially. But there used to be a point where they believed that like black people were like fallen souls who were like neutral in the battle between Jesus and Satan. Jesus and Satan are like brothers in the Mormon faith, and they had a war. And anyone who was neutral in that war was, was born onto this earth with black skin. So that's the reason there's black people. But like I said, they don't necessarily believe that anymore. I think they kind of realize that's like hurting recruitment. So they kind of like quietly like, yeah, we got that one wrong. Actually, that one not so much. Actually, we looked into that, and turns out it was a typo. I mean, I think any religion is stupid, but like one that came about so recently, and it's like pretty much demonstrable that the guy that cooked it up was a con man. Like, you're so stupid.
You know, men are able to have.
Don't you talk for a living? You know, you don't have to be 100% eloquent. No one expects that, you know, the commentators of the world are going to all be Edward R. Murrow with some perfectly polished, you know, speech tucked into their pocket that they can just summon up at any time and just drop an eloquence bomb on the audience, at a whim. But you're a bumbling, stumbling dipshit at this point. Yeah, well, it's like, where's your confidence? Where's your balls? Where's your bravado? You really are a beta, huh? I mean, I understand you can't stay on top forever, and there's a changing of the seasons and a changing of the guard, and you backed the wrong horse in that election and stuff. But like, how did you get to this? How did you get to the point where you're just what happened to your zest for this bullshit? Kind of concerned, Glenn. You lost your nuts. You lost your balls. You lost your ovaries, for that matter. I don't want to be sexist with the terminology. You lost any sort of sexual reproductive organs down there. You've been hollowed out. You're a husk. You got nothing left in the tank, buddy. It's time to go bye-bye. It's time to go away. It's time to take your millions of dollars and be like, well, that was a good grift, and go do something else with your life, because this ain't working no more, bud. I don't know what the hell's happening here, but like, I don't know. There's just no charisma.
Have babies. No, they're. My problem.
Have babies. Well, like, oh my God. How are you this bad? You've been doing this for decades. What happened? Get a scriptwriter or something, bro. Get one of your flunkies to jot something down for you in the night and just look at the camera and read that shit. You got to do better than this, man. This is nothing. This is less than nothing.
Doing this show is I am
speechless for the first time in your life?
No, I don't. It doesn't seem like it's the first time. This is just your second voice right here. This is your backup guy coming here to save you by pretending that you're doing some kind of bit by not talking.
That's about what it sounds like.
Yeah, because I'm
Look at the strain this motherfucker is in, trying to like prop up the carcass of the once influential Glenn Beck, trying to like guide him through this process of doing yet another show. Look at the intense concentration on that dude's face as he just tries to prevent Glenn Beck from face planting 15 times a night.
I'm very transparent with my life, and this is coming from someplace else that is happening in my life. And let me just say this to you: our children have no idea that parents, you have no idea how confused and lost your children really are.
Have you ever seen a man take longer to say one sentence? Have you ever seen a man take so goddamn long to get one sentence out of his mouth? All he had to say was, I think parents today have no idea how lost their children really are. That's it. He couldn't do that. This is a guy who talks for a living. This is like a football player that can't catch or throw a football. Just a complete and utter failure to do the job that you're supposed to be doing. All you had to do was speak a sentence. One simple little sentence. Parents, I don't think you have any idea how lost your children are. Even with a dramatic pause, it doesn't take as long as you did. Even if you were just like, I think the parents of this country need a wake-up call. Pregnant silence. I'm going to tell you this. Your kids, you have no idea how confused and lost they truly are. Let me tell you something. Even if you want to go the long route to it, you want to make it impactful. You don't do it by, You're making me mad for all the wrong reasons. I shouldn't be here lecturing you on how to do a presentation. I should be able to argue with the meat of your argument, but you won't get to it because you're a stumbling, bumbling nitwit. And by the way, what does any of this have to do with that clip of Chelsea Handler and her grasp of astronomy and what was I even seeing that for? What was the point of that? Was that just an excuse to play a clip so you could escape talking for another second? You know, maybe you should have played a longer clip. You could have gathered your thoughts a little more there, because it seems like you didn't put them together very well.
It might seem like they get it, but Chelsea Handler is, she's a genius.
That's it? That's what you got? After on the third try, that was all you could do? Chelsea Handler is a genius. All you had was some like very like kindergarten level sarcasm where it's like, I call her a genius, but actually I mean she's stupid. Why don't you have like a few insults in your back pocket? Like you're supposed to be an incendiary dude, right? You could call her a bloviating nitwit, a Nimrod who doesn't know what she's talking about, a liberal ideologue, a fool, an idiot, a moron, a dipshit. You can't say dipshit, but you could call her a lot of things. Like Chelsea Handler is one of these vacant-eyed Hollywood liberal types who is so out of touch with reality that she doesn't even understand basic facts about the world. And it's sad to see that an entire generation is following the antics of this frankly imbecilic woman. Like, how hard is it? Why the f*** do you make more money than me? I'm so much better at your job than you are, and I don't even want it.
In today's world, they're not learning the things that they need to learn, and they're learning all of these things that are really horrible.
They're not learning good things, but they do learning bad things.
Could you be more vague? I don't know, guy. Could you get a little more vague for me? I missed the vague part of that sentence where you were just like,
Today's kids, they taught bad things, but not taught good things.
like, who the fuck could even work up any ire for that generic goddamn bull? Cite a example. Throw some red meat to the base. Make a argument so I could actually sink my teeth into something. I've been listening to you prattle for 3 minutes and you ain't said
that are counter to everything that is an eternal truth. I'm going to give you another story here today, and I don't know if anybody can...
You're going to give me another story? So your commentary on that is concluded? Holy, hideous, you said nothing. You said goddamn nothing. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. You didn't say one word. All you did is you vaguely gestured.
Chelsea Handler's dumb. People shouldn't listen to her. You don't know how bad kids got it these days. They learn bad thing and they don't learn good thing. Anyway, next story.
You see the difference between what I just did and what you just did is I got it out of my mouth in a reasonable amount of time. And even though I was talking in a dumb caveman grunt voice, it still sounded more intelligible than the nonsense you just put us through. Glenn Beck is just Colonel Sanders on estrogen. Changed my mind. No insult to anyone actually on estrogen, by the way.
But this is a story out of England. And it is...
Yeah, there's a story out of England. Turns out we're going to fight a war for our independence, you guys. We're going to fight them. F you, King George. You can't tax our team, motherfucker.
It's a story about how Satanism is becoming very popular.
Based. Based.
And, but there's no blood rituals anymore.
There never really was. Like, once again, this is just another guy that just hears the word Satanism and has no idea what Satanism actually is. Satanism is like a mostly satirical religion made up by a carnival barker by the name of Anton Xander LaVey. Not his real name. I don't remember what his real name is. Just like probably Greg Simmons or something. Shaved his head bald, grew a goatee, bought a mansion in San Francisco, had a bunch of big-breasted, naked women surround him all day and preach the gospel of Satanism. And if you actually read the tenets of Satanism, like, they're not that bad, guy. Now, I know that there's also now the satanic temple. There's like 3 variants of Satanism. There's one that actually believes in Satan as a god, which is the smallest one. And then there's the Anton LaVey one. And then there's the more political activism one that's more using Satan as like a symbol of like political disaffection. None of them do blood sacrifices. None of them believe in that garbage. These are the 7 fundamental tenets of Satanism. One should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason. Seems logical to me. That's already more logical than anything in the Bible. The struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and other... Oh, this is actually the Satanic Temple's principle. So this is the newest one. This is the one that has that Lucian Greaves guy. I thought I was reading the LaVeyan Satanism stuff, but this is actually for the new Satanism. So here's their agenda. The struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. One's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone. The freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forego one's own. Beliefs should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. One should take care never to distort scientific facts to fit one's beliefs. People are fallible. If one makes a mistake, one should do one's best to rectify it and resolve any harm that might have been caused. And finally, every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word. This is so much more ethical than anything in the Book of Mormon or the Bible or the Quran or any of these supposedly holy books. All of those books demand blood sacrifice, demand rape, demand murder, demand slavery. This is about freedom and humanism. This is insanely better than your garbage ass religion. So when you tell me that there's a bunch of kids going around identifying as Satanists, good, awesome. May the satanic New World Order usher in an age of peace and prosperity upon this earth.
There's no murder. There's no sacrifice. There's no blood rites to Satan. We don't worship the devil. We don't cast.
All right. So that was the Satanic Temple. This is the LaVeyan Satanism from the 60s. These are the 9 satanic statements. Satan represents indulgence instead of abstinence, vital existence instead of spiritual pipe dreams, undefiled wisdom instead of hypocritical self-deceit, kindness to those who deserve it instead of love wasted on ingrates, vengeance instead of turning the other cheek, responsibility to the responsible instead of concern for psychic vampires, man as just another animal, sometimes better, more often worse than those that walk on all fours, who, because of his divine spiritual and intellectual development, that's in quotes, has become the most vicious animal of all. Satan represents all those so-called sins as they all lead to physical, mental, or emotional gratification. And finally, Satan has been the best friend the church has ever had, and he has kept them in business all these years. So, very, very different, but also a completely rational and worldview that's way better than Christianity. Now, I happen to like the Satanic Temple variant a little bit better, but this one's also fine. You know, it's a little bit more selfish, and it's a little bit more like f you edgy, but it's still a rational goddamn worldview in my book. What's not a rational worldview is Christianity. What's not a rational worldview is Mormonism, Islam, Jainism. I don't know, anything out there that expects you to believe that some sort of supernatural force controls your destiny and that you need to curry its favor. These religions are telling you, hey, that doesn't exist. But here's a way you can live your life that is way more interesting, way more successful, way more prosperous, way more fun, way more fulfilling. Here's a way of being that is fundamentally better than what has been offered to you hitherto. So when I hear that a bunch of youths in England are taking a shine to Satanism, whether they're following LaVeyan Satanism or Satanic Temple Satanism or some new variant of which I'm not even aware yet, I applaud them. Kudos to them. The only way I would say that it's actually a bad sign is if they're believing in like a literal goblin guy down in hell going, "Brah, evil." If that's the Satanism that's being propagated, then that's no better than Christianity. It's no worse either, by the way. But, you know, if they're embracing, you know, secular satanic philosophy, awesome. Great. That's the best news I've had all day. Thank you for letting me know that, Glenn.
Magic spells, says the leader of the Satanic Temple in England. Based.
Yeah, the Satanic Temple. Let's go to their website again. I want to sell my soul, get rich, join the Illuminati, etc. Please look elsewhere. Do you worship Satan? No, nor do we believe in the existence of Satan or the supernatural. The Satanic Temple believes that religion can and should be divorced from superstition. As such, we do not promote a belief in a personal Satan. To embrace the name Satan is to embrace rational inquiry removed from supernatural and archaic tradition-based superstitions. Satanists should actively work to hone critical thinking and exercise reasonable agnosticism in all things. Our beliefs must be malleable to the current scientific understanding of the material world, never the reverse. Oh my God. Oh my Satan. They knocked that shit out of the park, man. No wonder. Honestly, I came here to abandon my hope. And Glenn Beck telling me that there's a rash of kids in England joining this religion, it gives me hope. It makes me feel like maybe we ain't so bad after all, us humans, you know?
Okay. He said, yeah, we do occult rituals and, you know, there's no virgin sacrifices or chalices of blood. And We don't believe in the actual devil or Satan. That's a thing of the past. Satanism is alluring to young people now because everything in religion is outdated. And
Satanism is alluring to young people now because what I read just made sense, and what you hold to be true is nonsense. Let's just be clear on that. Satanism, to whatever extent it is spreading because people are tired of being beholden to magical, superstitious thinking and would like to embrace reason.
dogmatic and traditional, and you're told that you have to offer yourself. You have to change your ways. The Sunday Telegraph.
I mean, it seems like the Satanic Temple is also saying you have to change your ways. Like, hold on. Let's go look at those 7 statements again. At number 6, it says, people are fallible. If one makes a mistake, one should do one's best to rectify it and to resolve any harm that might have been caused. So basically saying, like, yeah, you know, if you've done harm to someone, even if it was through no intentional malice, you know, you need to make amends. So that's not just saying, like, do whatever you want, hurt whoever you want, be a totally selfish prick. The first tenet says to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures. You view this as a selfish doctrine? Seems like the opposite to me. Seems like we're being told, like, you know, treat others with compassion, empathy, and love and understanding. And, you know, if you make a mistake, own up to it and try to do your best to make amends. So I don't really understand what you're saying here. I mean, the reality is you don't care what these tenets are. You're going to use the word Satan to spookily your audience. That's all you really are intending to do here. But I have to treat you as though you're serious, because when I do so, it displays how unserious your beliefs really should be taken. That's always been my strategy. Treat these people more seriously than they deserve so you can see how preposterous they really are. He has no interest in what these people actually believe. He has no interest in doing anything other than hearing the word Satan and going, he doesn't care that, like, what he's saying is totally characterizing them the wrong. Oh yeah, they just want to do whatever they want. No, it specifically says be compassionate and own up to your mistakes and be respectful of others.
I'm reading, spoken to leaders of members of the satanic groups around the world who claim that the opportunities Satanism offers people to engage in activism and they campaign on issues such as gender sexuality is part of the...
I'm joining this church. I love it. Dude, I'm joining the Satanic Temple. I'm glad I watched your video today because it made me realize the Satanic Temple rocks, which I already knew. I already knew the Satanic Temple was pretty goddamn cool. But you know what? I never thought it was cool enough to join until I heard your ass maligning it in this, like, dumb, ham-fisted way.
They are now turning away, he says, from incredibly outdated, very obviously stuffy views that are completely not in keeping with modern times. You know what?
What?
He's absolutely right.
Yeah. Amen.
Absolutely right.
I agree. The end.